Hey everyone, how's it going? I meant to make this a couple days ago since I got back from PAX just over a week ago now, but, life caught up. So this is going to be a little... It's not really a vlog, is it? Because it's mostly just audio. There's going to be a little bit of a few visual aids, but for the most part, just treat it like a podcast. I'm going to talk about my experiences at PAX East again this year. Man, I hate the word vlog. Blog and vlog, they just sound like vomit. It's like an onomatopoeia for vomiting. But yeah, I had a really good time at PAX. It was my 4th time in Boston for PAX East. Had another wonderful time. Got into town bright and early on Friday and had a relaxing train ride. I'd already forgotten how comfortable traveling by train is compared to flying. I don't do it that often. Especially when the train isn't full, it's the best. And I'm not one of those people who hates flying, but I would absolutely take a train everywhere if that were a reasonable option. Unfortunately, it's not, especially flying cross-country a lot. Or I mean traveling cross-country a lot. It's nice just having an outlet so I could keep my laptop powered for the 6-hour ride. That was heavenly. Let me get some work done, listen to a couple podcasts, do my ridiculous OCD photo organization. I watched Creed. Damn, that's an awesome movie. I have no love for Rocky, but it's not only a good movie, but it's also really reverent about the pedigree of the series that it's in. Good-ass movie. It boggles the mind. I want to see some behind the scenes of how they actually filmed those boxing scenes, because it is filmed in such a way that it seems so real, and I don't know how they managed to do that. If the actors were pulling their punches, it's just really well filmed, especially the boxing fights. So I got into Boston, checked into my hotel. First time encountering an automatic revolving door, which sounds mundane, but it's actually horrific. Like, it's straight out of a horror movie. You hear this really pleasant robotic lady announce speeding up, and it's like Paul Walker just hits the NOS button. It goes into turbo and tries to kill you. Aside from that, the only downside was I got very little sleep because I was up late being restless the night before the train ride. Woke up at like 2 in the morning for a 5 o'clock train ride. Still had a pretty good Friday, though. Not much happened at the con itself. I mostly stood in line for one really big game, which was Outlast 2. And I think they kind of mismanaged that line a whole lot. They didn't have a whole lot of setups going on, and the demo was kind of long. So Red Barrel had this cool booth shaped like a big chapel. And the line was like 2.5 hours long. And I found out later it's because they had... what I heard was 3 setups for the game. But when you go in, you only see one setup. I'm assuming there were more. But it's dark and it's isolated. And each station is curtained off and dark, so the atmosphere is really good. But there's also this big camera attached to the monitor looming over you, because they're recording the reactions of everyone who's playing. And it's more Outlast. It's more of Outlast style of horror. So a lot of horror movie style gotchas and jump scares and stuff, and making you paranoid. But it's not like it's pants shitting horrifying. It's if you liked that in Outlast, you'll get more than in 2. I think it was very okay. There's a new setting though, which I is what I enjoy the most. It's no longer in that kind of campy insane asylum setting. There's it's a backwood downcountry farm kind of setting. And it looks like it's going to be gripped by a religious cult. And there's a lot more of the paranormal stuff that picks up from the end of Outlast 1. And the best part is, towards the end of this demo, there's this tense chase through a big cornfield where the stalks are like 2 heads higher than you. And you're being stalked by a bunch of dudes with flashlights. It's the best part of that demo by far. So overall, it's pretty above average. I'll definitely play the second one. I had a good time with Outlast. Not so much the Whistleblower. I really was disappointed with Whistleblower. What was fucking out of control were the people shrieking like morons playing it up because they knew they would be on camera, though. Screaming like they're being stabbed or having bamboo shoots driven under their fingernails. Just ridiculous. And it's not just a few. Like, the line wrapped around the booth, and we were in line for a long-ass time. So every time the line moves up, you're always just along the wall of the booth. And there's always one person who would just non-stop yell at the top of their lungs, and not just like little yelps when you get panicked or tense or whatever, just screaming and doing that irritating, "Oh, this is really spooking me, guys," commentary to a fucking webcam, hoping to get in on a trailer. After I got done playing Outlast 2, I went over and just happened across Perception, which was set up at the Indie Mega Booth. And Perception is another horror game. It's by some of the ex-Irrational folk, and you play as a blind girl. So you're tapping your cane constantly to kind of echolocate around this haunted house. But as you tap the cane to help you navigate the environment, you're also attracting the attention from whatever is haunting the house. And it's fascinating playing with that dynamic. It was the more interesting of the two horror games I played on Friday. And so, like, the environments are totally pitch black. There is no detail in them until you tap the cane, and it sends out that little echolocation shockwave and starts to fill in some of the details so you can navigate around. As I was going out, I checked out the Ruby game that was there, because I saw as I was passing the Rooster Teeth booth. And it still seems early, so I'll preface it with that. I kind of still hope it turns out well, because it's got a good feel for what it is, but I'm not getting the impression that there's going to be much depth. And I talked to one of the devs, and I was kind of trying to prod him and get a feel for whether he was a big fan of Bayonetta or Devil May Cry or that kind of genre of character action, or if it was going to lean towards more like God of War, if he was a big fan of that. I just kind of got a generic answer that implied, like, yeah, I like Devil May Cry and God of War and stuff like that. But he also then made the comparison to Dynasty Warriors. Like, he was comparing Devil May Cry to Dynasty Warriors, so I get the impression that probably not a lot of appreciation for the depth of a character action game, and that might translate through to Ruby, the game itself. I'm going to keep an eye on it because I'm interested, at least. It feels pretty good. Feels smooth. But there's just not a lot going on yet. So, because I was really tired Friday, I didn't spend a lot of time at the show itself. I went back to the hotel. I called an Uber, and they were doing a cross-promotion with Overwatch, so I got picked up in an orange Overwatch-branded Lamborghini. It was pretty goddamn cool. I showed back up at my hotel in that. They did something like that at Prime with the Mad Max Ubers I never got a chance to get into. So that night, I didn't wind up turning in that early. I wound up going back out, and I went to, I got a reservation at a place called the Frost Ice Loft. And this is a diner/bar furnished entirely in ice, and it was a pretty neat experience to drain a mug there and sitting on an ice chair in the freezing cold. I would definitely do that again, but then again, I love the cold. So after that, I went back to the hotel again, turned in. It's still pretty early. I actually got a really good night's sleep, so Saturday morning, I was feeling pretty good when I woke up, but Saturday morning started off kind of shitty. Something that you need to understand about PAX is that tickets sell out ridiculously fast, like a matter of minutes fast. And if you don't have, say, an SMS text alert on your phone that lets you know when the tweet goes out that tickets are on sale, there's a good chance that you aren't getting tickets from at least not from a first-party seller, like not from PAX. So all of this is exacerbated by the fact that you can buy 4 sets of badges at a time. And PAX does very little to hinder scalpers. And in fact, scalpers usually get in just by, I don't know exactly how, but like by brute forcing their way to the ticket URL before the tweets even go out that the tickets are available. So they're already in the system in line getting their tickets before anybody else knows about it. So 3-day badges sell out immediately. And Saturdays sell out almost as quick. They're usually available for like a minute or two longer. And then Friday and Sunday tend to last a little bit longer. So I got in fast enough to get 3 sets of Friday and Sunday badges for a couple of friends who ultimately couldn't go. Which is fine, because I figured I'll sell them at face value or trade them for the Saturday badge I didn't wind up getting, that I still need. I usually wind up having to buy a badge at the con itself, and it's usually a pain in the ass, but not the worst thing ever. I usually pay like face value plus $15, because that seems reasonable enough. I don't know what it was about this year, but this was the worst year ever in terms of dealing with scalpers. It was fucking ridiculous. They were out in such tremendous numbers that it was disgusting. And I'm not talking about people who clearly had something come up, like a cancellation, and had to sell extra tickets last minute or something for maybe a slight markup. No. Like, I'm not talking about that. That stuff happens. I'm talking about dudes every 15 yards who are just content to stand outside of PAX with handfuls of Saturday badges, selling them for like $130 to $150. Triple face value. One, like, filthy shit-eating cunt tried to talk me into paying $200 for a Saturday badge. For one badge. Fuck off. Scalpers are human garbage. They deserve to be reincarnated as sentient porta potty toilets. They're fucking terrible people. I wouldn't piss on fire to put these people out. So at this point, I'm cranky because scalpers are being exploitative filth, and it starts to rain, and I'm not inside enjoying PAX. And the spite came out in a big way. So I whip out my phone, I look something up. I'm checking to see if Boston's laws, I'm checking to see what their laws regarding scalpers. Unless you're a licensed broker, you can't sell a ticket for more than $2 over face value. Great. I started going up to cops because security's all over the place. It's a big convention, and I'm pointing out scalpers to them. And for a few of them, I went undercover drug sting and started to like buy. I initiated a buy with a few scalpers with like a plainclothes officer within earshot, and just like that, done. Fuck them. They get what they deserve. I found someone super nice though, who's just selling a badge at face value, $50. I think I wound up giving him 70 just because I wanted to reward him for being a decent human being. So aside from that mess, Saturday was lit. I went to the TinyBuild booth and I had a blast. There were 4 setups running Cluster Truck and barely anyone lingering around, so I played a lot of Cluster Truck. It was the best time I had all weekend playing a game. It's a first-person platforming game, if you haven't seen it, where you're jumping from one semi-truck to another, and there's like a mirror's edge slow-mo button, and trucks are falling from the sky and exploding and leaping gorges, and it's so butt-clenchingly intense and just fun. I can't quite summon the words, but I was there next to a few people, and we were all just getting hype and yelping and cheering every time we cleared a level. Like, Cluster Truck is the truth. I can't wait for that to come out. And then not even 20 feet away, they had this big setup in the middle of their booth. And it's for something that felt more like a really cool tech demo, but it was called Stage Presence. And it's a VR game where you're stood in front of a microphone with an Oculus on. And what you're seeing is an ocean of people. And you're on stage facing them. And the goal is just to keep the crowd entertained, speaking or singing into the mic, and it's nerve-wracking. It's like the best stage fright simulator ever. VR continues to impress me with how instantly you can melt into a world. And how just creative devs are getting with it. I visited the Adult Swim booth nearby, found the station with Rain World, and not too much to say about that, save that it's still exceptionally gorgeous. I got to mess around with Mira in KI, and I didn't even know that she was going to be there, but I just saw her selectable as I was walking by the Iron Galaxy booth, and I think I might really dig this character. She's a gothic-themed Stoker-esque vampire character who is also Maya's sister. And it's really nice to have a well-designed fighting game vampire character unlike fucking Nitara from back in the day. I didn't get to see her stage. I went and I listened to her music afterwards, though, because it was hard to hear her theme through all the crowd noise and all the other stuff going on at PAX. She's interesting, man. Her dash is kind of short, but it's so fast. Makoto-esque. So that right there should tell you that I was kind of feeling her. She's got an air dash too. A lot of mobility tools on her. What I was noticing is that it takes her own health to do specials. So she seemed like a really high risk, high reward character. And she can bite to get her health back. And when she does that, there's one move it ends with the coolest animation. It's an air throw where she bites you and then throws you out of midair. I've been playing a lot of Arbiter in KI. Arbiter and Aghanos lately. But I might just wind up dropping them for now and pick up Mira as a pocket or a secondary, because I'm definitely not dropping Hisako as my main. I still don't know what her instinct does yet, or what her combo trait is. Actually, at the time that this video is going up, I think she'll have already been out, so yeah, I have to play more of her. The only 2 games I stood in long lines for were, let's see, Let It Die and Pyre. And one of those was alright, and the other was completely worth the long wait. So Let It Die. It's a grasshopper game, but it has the least personality of any grasshopper game that I've played. And it's clunky, which is actually really disappointing, because I thought Lollipop Chainsaw and Killer is Dead especially, were great steps forward for them. But this one is just a little bland. It's an RPG with a control layout that's mostly kind of like a Souls game, but just not super responsive or paced very well. There's some touchpad controls in there too that I hated. I hated the inventory. I really hated how bad the shooting felt, to the point where I was so desperate not to use the guns that even against the other firearm enemies, I was still just looking for ways to melee them. And there's a boss at the end who I thought was just like a larger version of a normal enemy. And you beat him, and the demo's like, good job, you did it, you beat our PAX demo, and it leaves you feeling like, oh, that's it? While I was in line, though, I got to talking to a few people and wound up giving them my 2 spare Sunday badges for free, because they seemed like alright folks, and they couldn't get Sunday badges, so I didn't want them to have to go through what I went through earlier that morning, wading through all the fucking scummy-ass scalpers, so I felt pretty good about that. The other game that I was in a long line for, though, Pyre. But Pyre, though. So a few days before PAX, Supergiant drops a reveal trailer for the new game out of the blue. I didn't get a chance to check any of it out before I left. Dude, you are just kind of a disembodied character, making choices and driving a couple of decisions in the action forward, but the characters that you're interacting with are where the heart and soul lie. What makes you special, though, is that unlike all these other characters, you can read, and they all call you the reader because that skill has apparently been almost completely lost. I'm not going to talk too much about the premise or the characters because it's really hard to right now, but I'm going to hit on 3 things. Art. It's Supergiant, so it's 100% on point. Music. It's Supergiant, so it is 100% on point. Gameplay. This game is so weird, but it somehow works. It feels like they sat down and played Final Fantasy X HD, got to the part where you meet up, right before you meet up with Auron, when you have to play the Blitzball match in, Besaid, and said, oh, Blitzball is cool in theory, but man, is it a chore to play. I bet we could make something fun out of this. And so you don't really have combat sections. You have these 3 versus 3 matches where you control one character at a time. And the goal is to pick up the ball in the center and then run into the other team's pyre and hurl yourself into it until they run out of points. And they have to stop you from reaching the pyre and grab the ball and get to your pyre and do the same to you. And you can only control one character at a time. And once you have possession of the ball, the only character who can move is the one in possession. So you're jumping around and dashing and trying to pass it and switching controls, and it just works. It works really well. So all signs point to Supergiant being 3 for 3. So I also stood in line for another game. Resident Evil Umbrella Corps. Wasn't a long line, though. Maybe 10 to 15 minutes. Otherwise, there's no chance I would have stuck around. That game is a fucking dumpster fire waiting to explode. It's a bad sign when they don't give you an Xbox One controller or a DualShock 4 or keyboard and mouse, but these shitty, awful Logitech controllers with bad buttons. We played 3v3. We got to play one complete match as a 3v3. The loading in that game is atrocious. No joke, between a minute and a half to 2 minutes. That's not including the lobby countdown timer, mind you. That's just the loading screen. Like, nearly 2 minutes. 2 of the 6 of us had our games freeze when we entered the character customization to change our loadouts. This game comes out in, what? Like mid-June? So a month and a half away? And this is the trade show build they're bringing around for the public. Is a really bad sign. Aside from that, it's cumbersome. It's incredibly vanilla. It's a nothing special third-person shooter with bad feeling camera controls and nothing special. Aside from zombies standing between you and the other team. I'm bummed that I was right to be cynical about it. Because I always want to be proven wrong when my first impression is, this looks bad. But I'm feeling vindicated in that impression instead. So I also spent a couple of minutes checking out TMNT from Platinum, but not enough to give any real solid impressions other than I had fun with it. Feels like a fleshed out Korra, which is more or less what I expected. I can't say for sure because the show floor was closing soon, so I didn't spend a ton of time, but I liked what I played of it. Switching between the turtles is fun. Feels smooth. It's a Platinum game, so of course it does. I'm hoping it's more fleshed out than Korra. And from what I played, it seems to be. And we already know it has better boss fights, so I'm in for that. I also got a match in of KOF 14, and for some reason it's the oldest build. It's the oldest public demo. So it's not only as ugly as when the game was first revealed, the roster is limited to, was it 9 or 12 characters? It felt bizarrely slow and heavy. And I don't get quite why, because I'm pretty sure the frame data is supposed to be pretty similar to KOF 13's, but something wasn't clicking there, and I just don't know why. Like, more recent trailers and character teasers for the game look like a step up from when KOF 14 was revealed, but I still get a bad feeling about it. I hope it does well, because I like SNK and I want them to continue making good stuff, and I don't want KOF 14 or any KOF to be bad, but I'm skeptical about this one. I'm not feeling it yet. So that was it as far as what I played at the show. The theme of not having a ticket for a thing continued on Saturday after I left PAX for the night and showed up at the Hard Rock Cafe for the Harmonix party, figuring, fuck, both waves of tickets sold out instantly. Hopefully I can buy tickets there. And it turned out that that was really hard to do. So I was browsing Reddit for someone selling when this girl comes out and says, I'm gonna get you in. So she takes my arm and we walk up to the guy at the front, and neither of us are really looking at him, but we're just talking to each other, and she's acting like I'm an old friend and we haven't seen each other in forever or whatever. And the guy at the door sees that she has a wristband from the party, like she came out to have a smoke or something, and he sees me with her, and I guess he just assumes I'm like her +1. So we walk past him and I'm in, and that's super cool of her. I was like, I'm not a big fan, I'm not big on karma or superstition in general, but it did kind of feel like karma paying me back for doing those guys in the Let It Die line a solid. And more importantly, it was just really nice of this girl to help me out and stick her neck out like that. And the party wound up being a lot of fun. There was a lot of live music, there's a lot of schmoozing and drinking and good free food, and even a little bit of karaoke and dancing that I might have got myself involved in. So another fun night in the books. It was a really good party. And Sunday's always kind of bittersweet because it's the short day at PAX and things wrap up early, and even in the morning you know that the party's coming to an end that day, but you try to make the most of it while you're still there. So I got onto the expo floor really early that day, and I got right into the spillover line for the PlayStation VR. It's technically like a wait list line because they have this app that you're supposed to schedule appointments through. But the appointments fill up at like 7 a.m. when they go live, even though they're supposed to go live at like 8 or 9 a.m. So they leave like a couple of slots open in line in case people no-show their appointments or they're late or whatever. So I actually managed to get in for another PSVR game pretty early in the morning, without an appointment. I got in for the kitchen demo at Prime, that horror demo that I talk up from Capcom, which was really good. This time I got in for the one called the London Heist, which I'd heard. I've been hearing a lot about that for a long time now, and for a good reason. It's nuts. It's so easy to just sit down, put the VR headset on, and sublimate to just instantly become immersed in the game. The London Heist is this short little scenario where you're riding shotgun in a van after a robbery, and you can twist and turn your head and all that, and look all over the place, interior of the van, and it's again, it sounds super mundane, but it fills me with so much awe and wonder that you can just be transported so seamlessly like that. And you can grab coffee and throw it at the driver and stuff. And they're encouraging you to do that. And eventually, the driver kicks out the windshield and this highway chase starts, and you grab an Uzi. And you have 2 move controllers. So the VR headset's tracking your head, and the 2 move controllers are tracking where your hands are. And it all just winds up feeling right. And to reload, you reach over to the ammo bag, you grab a fresh mag, and you actually, like, your non-dominant hand under the hand holding your gun, you're physically popping the magazine into the Uzi and just continuing to shoot guys riding up ahead by your side window or up ahead. It's a blast. Like, every time I play some kind of VR demo, I just get the biggest, widest grin, and I'm just smiling the whole time. It's like, I can't remember the last time that game's filled me with that kind of awe. It's really wonderful technology you can do some very cool stuff with. So then I went to get in line early for the Acquisitions Incorporated show, which I try to catch every time I'm at PAX. It's a D&D show, if you haven't seen it, with Mike and Jerry, the hosts of PAX, and the creators of Penny Arcade, plus Scott Kurtz, Chris Perkins, and Patrick Rothfuss. And it's like an improv comedy show draped around D&D. And it's always just hilarious and pure lunacy. And for this one, they flipped the script a little bit, and they had Chris Perkins play a character instead of DMing, and they did 2 mini campaigns. One was DM'd by Mike, and it was like this Jim Dark Magic murder mystery story. It was really cool. And then the other one was DM'd by Patrick Rothfuss. I instantly got back in line for the next show in the main theater, which was the final round of the Omegathon. And the big mystery game was a game called Video Ball. And the guy who made it came up with the best synopsis that I've ever heard for a game. And it was, and I quote, "It's like cyber terrorism plotted by a chess computer." Is that not the best? Does that not immediately make you want to check it out? It takes the best game ever, Pong, and just messes with the formula. Just like Windjammers took Pong and just added some bells and whistles, and it looks mental. So the Omegathon was kind of a blowout. Wrapped up, the Cookie Brigade, who, they're like a wandering band of cookie salesmen and saleswomen who are just selling cookies all around the con, to raise money for, Child's Play. I think they raised $25,000 this year, just selling cookies around the convention. So after that, after the announcement at the end about the Cookie Brigade, they said their goodbyes, everything wrapped up, we all left, and that was about my PAX weekend. I got back to the hotel, had an amaretto sour at the bar, which is one of my favorite drinks. Just tasty as all hell. 11 out of 10, this one was. I never knew that you were supposed to garnish an amaretto sour with cherry. So it was garnished with a single little maraschino cherry. And holy shit, does that make a difference. I don't know how this one little maraschino cherry infuses flavor throughout the whole drink, but god damn, next level stuff. It was so good. I also continued a ritual, which I started just when I went to MagFest in Baltimore, which is every time I travel now, I always wind up eating like garbage when I go to cons or whatever, because you want to spend like the least amount of time away from, you know, whatever you came there to do. So you always wind up just eating junk. You always wind up just going to food courts and getting like some shitty hot dog or something, or a slice of pizza, and then just going back to whatever you came there to do, or at least it's what I do. So whenever I go, I wind up not eating that well. So I decided when I went to MagFest, no matter what, I'm going to always sit down and I'm going to treat myself to one really, really good meal. I'm going to treat myself and make sure that I take time out just for that one thing. And it's always going to be a really nice steak. My ritual steak dinner that night, I had it with my delicious amaretto sour. I had it while watching the Game of Thrones premiere. I had this fucking really good filet mignon. Oh my god, what a like lavish, decadent feeling end to the night that was. This good drink, good steak. I enjoyed my night thoroughly. And that was my time at PAX. And this was my super self-indulgent, rambling, not even really a vlog, an A-log, a podcast, whatever. Yeah, about my wonderful time at PAX. I hope you guys enjoyed. I might do more of these in the future. I don't know. Thanks for listening, everyone. Take it easy. Have a good one, everyone.